I don't know how to start this one. A lot happened and I still need to process how I'm feeling, which is certainly different for me. Nothing that's happened at the motel has affected me to this degree in a long time. I thought I had completely desensitized myself to all the strange occurrences here, but I was wrong. I'm currently lying in a hospital bed typing up my account of the situation. So don't worry, I survived, obviously. How would I be typing this up if I wasn't alive? I mean, after tonight, I guess anything is possible. What do I do? David demanded. I assumed that he meant we, but I decided not to correct him on it. Now didn't exactly feel like the right time to remind him of how he's not the only person here. Yo, Mason, Z started. What's the plan? I was feeling pretty safe, but now I'm just curious and want to get out there. I looked in his direction, ready to lay out a potential plan, but stopped when I realized what he said. I pointed at him and said, Z, sit. Stay. Last time we went out during lockdown, you almost lost your arm. The best thing we can do is wait for whatever it is to leave. As long as we're in here, we're safe. I pulled out my phone and started typing another email to Anna and Court. I realized that someone or something that slaughtered over 15 people in a few minutes might just be a bit above their pay grades. I say with the utmost respect for everything that you've done for me and this community, and you've both helped me get out of countless near-death situations. I'm just putting this out there because I'm aware that you now read these. I informed the others of what I was doing, which was met with disagreement and agreement. You don't want the police to save us? Asked David. Do you just want us to wait here until whatever it is decides it just wants to kill us? Asked Joshua, along with the sound of the toilet flushing. Good idea, everyone else agreed. Listen, David, you're new here, I said. This kind of thing isn't that abnormal. We've all, except for Joshua, been locked in the motel almost a dozen times, so if we just stay put, I shot a look at Z, we'll survive. Nothing's ever gone in here before, except for the times when we let them in. David paled just a bit when I said that, but nodded his head. Okay, that's good. But why? Why would we be safe in here if there's something out there that can do that? I didn't have an answer for that. I didn't really know why it works, but it does. Basically, every time we've locked ourselves inside the room, the people tend to try and climb the gate and fail. If by chance the person that forces us to go into lockdown is inside the gates already, they seem completely unable to get into the rooms. Whether it be they fail to pick the locks or they just fail to break down the door or window. People just seem to not be able to get in. So that's exactly what I told him. For some reason, this explanation failed to satisfy him, but he resigned himself to not getting a better answer. The hell? Martina mumbled under her breath. She was squinting, looking at something through the window. I looked in the same direction, following her line of sight. It took me a moment to realize what she was looking at, as all I saw was the cracked concrete. But then I saw it. It looked as if the space itself was shifting, as if we were looking at the lot through a distorted glass. But then the distorted shape moved, returning the space I had been in back to normal. The shifting space moves closer and closer to the set of stairs. What is it? Z asked, with a little too much excitement in his voice. Now everyone, except for Joshua, was crowded around the window, watching it. The shifting space reached the bottom of the stairs. I've never heard of anything like that. Creatures with invisibility are super common, but nothing like this, Z explained. It could just be our eyes being weird. It's the lame answer, but it's Ting! Martina was interrupted by the sharp metallic clang, followed by the metal winding under pressure. We all froze as we saw the bottom step give under something's weight, bending slightly. Then the next step bent as another sharp clang rang out. Then the next, then the next, then the next. Until whatever this creature was stood right outside our door. Only now I could see that the space itself was shifted, almost to fit a shape. It was vaguely humanoid, with proportions that were just wrong enough to make it unsettling to look at. Like what most beginning artists turn out when they try drawing a person for the first time. We all stood there, staring at the shifting space person, when the space that I assumed to be an arm raised up above its head and came crashing down against the door. Our wooden shield creaked and gave in slightly, but still it stood strong. The creature let out a hideous shriek, like that of a cage of monkeys being tortured. We all covered our ears, trying to keep our eardrums from shattering. It slammed its fist into the door a few more times. I thought it was going to break it down, ending our door's perfect protection record, but still it held on. The group let out a collective sigh of relief, except for Joshua, who I think I could hear crying from the bathroom. I checked my phone to see that the emails hadn't been sent. Great! That means that Cora and Anna are probably on their way here right now, with this thing standing outside our door, and no one even knows what it is. I relayed this concerning bit of news to the group. "Okay guys, huddle up," JJ announced. "Joshua, get that little tush of yours out here right now. We have to figure out a plan to get rid of the universe's dicey space before it goes slicey on the only useful officers this town's got. So, Mason, what's our plan?" "Wait, why should I have a plan?" I asked. "Because you're our dependable manager who's never let any of us down and always has a plan to fix our murderous problems." "Okay, only half of that is true." "So you aren't the manager, I knew it," Z exclaimed. "Not that half, the other one," I explained. "Why don't you think you're dependable?" Martina asked, sarcastically. By this point we were all huddled around. Even Joshua had finally come out of the bathroom. I had my back to the monster while all of my coworkers' eyes were on me. I resigned myself to be the only one who would try to come up with a plan. It's not an unusual situation, but most of my plans end after I send out an email. I started running through scenarios in my head of what we could do. How did that thing kill them? It's pretty hard to see, so it could be possible they just snuck up on all of them, and it might not be that dangerous without the element of surprise. But then why would it let us know that it's here? And it has to have some kind of bladed weapon or claws that it's hiding, after how it tore those people apart. But what do we have to fight it with? There's the bedside lamp that we could use as a club. We could tear down the shower curtain liner. I don't know what for, but we could. It would be easier to actually come up with a plan if we actually knew what this thing was. The only clues that we have to go on is that it's fully capable of killing many fully grown adults, and that the space it's occupying is distorted slightly. It kind of looks like one of those weird mirrors that you'd find at a carnival. Wait. What if... "Hello, Earth to Mason." Martina snapped her fingers in front of my face a couple of times before she finally got my attention. "Yes, what are we talking about?" "Well, we asked for a plan and then you just completely spaced out." "Oh, right. I think I have a plan to figure out what it could be. Lucy, you there?" I asked the open air. "I'm never not," she announced from the restroom. Joshua and David jumped at the sound of the little girl's voice. "Good. Can you go stand right in front of the door?" "You want me to go outside? With that?" I felt bad asking the little girl to go outside with the murderous monster, not something that anyone should feel good about, but as far as I knew, she wasn't in any danger. She's always been able to touch while being unable to be touched. "You'll be okay, won't you?" "I mean, yeah, but it's creepy." "I guess I'll do it for you, though." "Thank you." Who are you talking to?" David asked, filling the silence while Lucy moved. "My favorite ghost," I responded. A moment after that, we heard a muffled voice of Lucy coming from the other side of the door. We all gathered around the window once again and peered out to see the warped images of a little ghost looking back at us. "I feel weird," she yelled. It looked like she was trying to put her hands on her hips, but kept missing because of her slightly altered proportions. The monster took several swipes at her with his elongated fingers. To no result, though, outside of changing her image. "You can come back in now." She silently slipped back into the room. David shifted uncomfortably, moving his eyes in a line from the door back to the bathroom mirror where Lucy reappeared. "So care to share what the point of that was?" "The point," I started, "was to prove that whatever this thing is that it's reflective. Its skin is like one of those mirrors that warps the image. That's how I was able to sneak around. You wouldn't notice it unless you were paying attention." "So how does that help us?" she asked. "Because it means we can smash and dash," said JJ, "though we'll have 7 years of bad luck. Or is it 13? I don't remember." "I mean, that's kind of half of what I was thinking." "Everyone huddle up," I said. We all gathered around in a circle again as I continued. "If we hang the blankets and the shower curtains up in front of the door, then I'll distract while it's blinded and probably tearing through the blankets. I'll make as much sound as I can while you guys go out through the window. I'll follow after you once you guys are all out. Once we're down, we need to get back to where my car is. It's a lot closer than the other vehicles. Then once we get far enough away to have internet back, we spam the officers, telling them to stay away." There was a moment of silence once I was done explaining, which, let me just say, made me feel really self-conscious about the plan. I understood that it wasn't a great plan. It was a terrible plan. Probably the dumbest plan anyone's ever thought of to get out of a situation like this. What was to stop the creature from slicing through everything and blocking off the window? Nothing outside of dumb luck. But it was the best we had. We weren't prepared for this. This plan also involved the fewest dangers. I'd rather put myself at risk than let Anna and Court show up to have to deal with this thing without any idea of what was happening. Right as I was about to ask if they heard me, the group let out a collective sigh. "All right, but we're not leaving you. Got that?" Martina threatened? "Thanks," I fished my keys out of my pocket and handed them off to her. Get the car started and leave the passenger seat open so we can get away. I stopped mid-sentence as I heard the slow creak of the door opening. David and Joshua let out terrified squeaks as they, the closest ones to the door, fled away from it in opposite directions. The creature stepped into what was once our safe haven, and it wasn't until it was right in front of me that I realized how large it was. It stood nearly 8 feet tall, its head nearly scraping the ceiling. There was a pregnant pause as we all stood there, shell-shocked at this event. The creature almost seemed unsure of what was happening itself. Then all hell broke loose. JJ screamed as he ripped the blanket and the comforter off the bed and threw it over the monster's head. I reached over and picked up the lamp. I gripped it by the base and swung it as hard as I could, which probably meant that this wouldn't hurt most people, but at the time I was confident in my ability to break glass. The middle of the lamp slammed into the creature. What looked like white flames sparked to life before immediately fizzling out, while simultaneously the lamp and my arms were thrown to the side. Vibrations rattled my arm, causing them to shake violently. I turned my attention to my coworkers who had started pulling the window open. The creature tore through the sheets and lunged at me. I held up the lamp in defense, but with a swift move of his hand, cut the lamp into 2 pieces. I dropped the bulb end, bringing the base over my head. I swung it forward into its chest. More white flames popped into and out of existence. As it felt like some unseen force slammed into the lamp at the exact moment of impact, it threw me off balance as the lamp was wrenched out of my grip. It clattered against the wall and fell to the floor as Martina called out to me, "Mason, come on!" Out of the corner of my eye, I saw that they had all gone out of the window, which was funny to think about. How much could happen in so little time? I tried to steady myself, hoping to make it to the window, as it stood between me and the door. Hoping to make it to the window before this gargantuan could. But it was too late. I felt razor blade-like claws tear into my sides as the monster threw me. The force was enough to rip my entire side open, send me out the window and over the railing. I fell nearly 11 feet to the cold, hard concrete below. My back hit first, causing my head to snap against it. I felt my whole body go limp. My ears rang while the screams of my coworkers tried to pierce into my fogging mind. I felt blood from my back, head, and side congealing into a puddle underneath me. Well, this sucks, I thought to myself. I tried moving my arms to push myself up, but gave up when I could only feel my fingers twitch. Now I know what you're reading. Mason, shouldn't you be dead? Or at least in so much pain that you pass out? Or at least cry a little? And if I was somebody else, I would absolutely agree that I should be doing one of those things. But something I haven't mentioned until now, because I don't really like talking about it. But my therapist does say it's a good idea for me to start opening up about my condition. What I'm referring to is the fact that I don't feel pain. Now that alone isn't exactly that big of a deal. There are plenty of people that don't feel pain. But my condition goes deeper than that. Somehow my body seems to have a resistance to things that would even cause my body damage. It started a few years back after a car accident that I got out of completely unscathed. That itself wasn't entirely strange until I was informed that because of how I crashed, I should have had several broken bones bare minimum. Doctors from across the country came to run some tests and found nothing that would indicate why I could withstand being electrocuted with zero issues, while I could hold on to metal that's being heated to 200 degrees before my skin starts to burn. I've even been nearly drained of all my blood before and survived. The doctors made it very clear that I'm still very mortal and not to let this condition go to my head. Honestly, I've always seen this as a two-sided sword. Think back to when Mr. Stabby came by a few weeks ago. I didn't realize I had been cut until hours after. It takes something that I presume to be really painful for me to even feel that something is trying to hurt me. Hence why I could feel that my head was split open. It just didn't hurt at all. I felt my mind fading. I couldn't tell if I was falling unconscious due to blood loss, brain trauma, or some other type of bodily damage. I could feel shards of what I found out was glass still lodged deep inside my midsection. My vision faded, turning everything to white.